In Asamankise, a village nestled between cocoa groves and the sprawling dark mystery of the Adam forest, lived Nana Serwa. The forest was an ancestor's curse, they said, a place where the malevolent Asuman spirit snatched souls that dared to trespass after sundown. Everyone believed it, from the youngest toddler to the oldest market woman, clinging to the safety of the perimeter. Yet Serwa felt the prohibition in her bones, not her heart. It was too neat, too perfectly terrifying. The tales of shadows and chilling laughter seemed to have been polished and rehearsed over generations, lacking the raw, unpredictable terror of true supernatural malice. Serwa's skepticism was a tight knot in her stomach, fueled by the silence her elders maintained whenever she pressed for details about the original reason the forest became forbidden 70 years prior. It was always the spirit now, nothing more. But Serwa remembered a faded tapestry her late grandmother had guarded, depicting the forest not as a danger, but as a sanctuary. That tapestry was her secret proof that the official story was a magnificent, purposeful lie. She intended to pull the thread that would unravel it all. Okompo Ama, the village priestess and most powerful elder, was the living embodiment of the Adom forest's boundary. Her face, usually creased with the warmth of 100 kind stories, hardened into granite whenever the forest was mentioned, her eyes black and sharp as obsidian. One humid afternoon, Serwa was fetching water near the path leading to the dense undergrowth, deliberately lingering too close. Amma appeared from the shade of a mango tree, her approach silent and unnerving. "The Adam is for the spirit, Serwa." Amma's voice was low, heavy with generations of authority. "You have a good life here. Do not tempt the things that crave the truth." Serwa forced a polite smile, but her gaze was fixed on the priestess's small woven straw hut. Encircling the doorway was a protective ward, a complex symbol of intertwined serpents. Serwa drew the traditional Asuman mark, which was a jagged claw. This serpent symbol was different, ancient and unnervingly regal. It looked less like a warning to ward off evil, and more like a lock to guard a treasure. Amma saw where Serwa was looking and quickly stepped in front of the carving, her composure cracking just for a moment. Serwa sought out her older brother Yao, who worked tirelessly at the sawmill and hated any talk of ancestral secrets. He was predictably distraught, running a hand through his hair. "The spirit will take you, Serwa. Leave the past alone," he pleaded, his fear palpable. Serwa gently reminded him of the tapestry, which she now kept hidden. Seeing her resolve, Yao finally cracked, his eyes darting nervously. He remembered their grandmother mentioning a secret, a legacy she couldn't share. Under a loose floorboard in their shared childhood room, Yao retrieved a brittle, rolled-up piece of deer hide. It wasn't a map of paths, but a star chart and a series of cryptic, interlocking riddles written in a script only used by the oldest royal court. One passage described a place where the moon pauses at the sun's first departure. There lies the clearing where the oath was sworn, and the lineage sleeps beneath the stone. There was no mention of the Asuman spirit, but instead repeated warnings about the keeper of the serpent's seal. Serwa realized the myth was just a smokescreen designed to keep people terrified of the real history buried deep within the forest's heart, a history that challenged the village's present authority. The evening of the third crescent moon, Serwa prepared for her journey, meticulously packing a small clay lamp, a sharpened cutlass, and the deer hide scroll tucked into her waistband. She left a brief, carefully worded note for Yao, knowing his fear would stop him from following, but hoping the note would provide a distraction if the elder started searching for her too soon. "I am finding what they hid, not what they fear," it simply read. Instead of approaching the well-worn, guarded trail where the village patrols often monitored, Serwa hiked 3 kilometers east, following the vague contours of the star chart. She finally located a narrow, nearly concealed gorge, choked with vines and thick ancient roots. The route her grandmother's script had described as the Serpent's Maw. Slipping between the roots felt like passing through a magical membrane. Once inside, the oppressive heat and noise of the outside world vanished. The autumn forest, the place of supposed malevolence, was eerily quiet, fragrant with unknown blossoms, and softly illuminated by the moonlight filtering through the dense canopy. Serwa moved with silent purpose, the moonlight and the knowledge from the scroll guiding her like an unseen hand. She expected the air to be thick with evil, the sounds to be haunted by wails, but the forest was peaceful, almost serene, suggesting a powerful calm had settled over the trees. It was the deepest she had ever been, the canopy so thick that the sky was only visible in fractured glimpses. Following the intersection of 2 ancient dry riverbeds marked on the map, she finally arrived at the silent clearing. It was perfectly circular, a natural amphitheater, and utterly devoid of the chaotic growth that characterized the rest of the Adom. At the center was not a shrine to a terrible spirit, but a magnificent, moss-covered and perfectly smooth stone wall, clearly man-made. The surface was intricately carved with the same intertwined serpent symbols she had seen on Okomfo Ama's hut, repeating the pattern of the keeper's seal. The sheer presence of the ancient wall was stunning, confirming that the forest was forbidden not to keep people out, but to keep a secret locked inside, a secret far more explosive than a simple haunting. Serwa ran her fingers over the smooth, damp stone wall. Near the base, hidden beneath decades of accumulated humus, she found a series of panels. Using the specific pressure points described in the deerhide scroll, she pressed them in sequence. A small, central stone slid away, revealing an opening, just large enough for her hand, inside of which lay several brittle clay tablets. The tablets contained the village's true history. Centuries ago, the founders of Asamankese established a just and prosperous rule, but the true royal family, the owners of the serpent's seal, were betrayed by their own protectors, the Okomfos, the ancestral priests. They weren't killed by outside invaders, but by their own religious guardians, the very people now led by Ama. The Okomfos staged a coup, murdered the royals and buried their bodies, along with the proof of their claim, right here in the silent clearing. To protect their fraudulent ascension, they created the myth of the Asuman spirit, ensuring that the murder site would forever be shunned and untouched by the populace. The clay tablets revealed that Serwa and Yao were the last living, unbroken link to the betrayed, rightful royal family. The shocking knowledge sent a tremor of fierce determination through her. The final piece of evidence, the item that would definitively prove the lineage and expose the generations of lies, was described in detail: the sikafufu, a small, pure gold ring traditionally worn by the true queen. The tablets specified the ring was hidden deep within the wall's central chamber, secured by a lock that required blood from the true line. Serwa followed the instructions, tracing the serpent symbol carved above the opening with her finger, then pressing a pin into her thumb to smear a single drop of her own blood onto the stone. The blood instantly dissolved into the mossy surface, and with a low, grinding sound, a deeper cavity opened. Inside, nestled on a bed of dried velvet, lay the small, heavy, radiant gold band. Gripping the sikafufu felt like holding the weight of 7 generations of betrayal. She had achieved her goal. She possessed the forbidden truth, wrapped in a juicy, scandalous secret. As Serwa slipped the heavy sikafufu ring onto her finger, sealing the cavity shut with the final click of the stone, a chilling voice cut through the silence of the clearing. "You came for the lie, but you found the truth, little descendant." Okomfo Ama stepped out from behind a thick mahogany tree, her eyes reflecting the dim moonlight, devoid of warmth. She hadn't followed Serwa. She had simply been waiting. "I knew you would come. The spirit protects the lie protects the peace," Amma confessed, her voice calm and chillingly rational. "Your ancestors were great rulers, but they were weak. My ancestors brought order through fear. The Asuman myth stopped wars and kept us stable. This ring, this truth, will destroy Asamankese, not save it." Serwa felt her heart hammer against her ribs, but her grip on the cutlass remained firm. Amma admitted to tracking Serwa's movements for years, knowing the ancient bloodline persisted. The entire taboo was a generations-long calculated performance to prevent this very moment. Amma moved closer, her ceremonial robes rustling, her offer thick and tempting. "Give me the ring, Sawa, and I will make you wealthy. You can leave Asamankese and never look back. We can keep the secret between us for the sake of the village's harmony." Sawa laughed, a sharp, disbelieving sound that broke the forest's calm. "Harmony built on murder is just silence, Amma, a lie." Sawa quickly pulled a small pouch from her bag, revealing charcoal rubbings she had taken from the clay tablets, showing the history of the betrayal and the serpent seal. She hadn't just relied on the ring, she had secured the evidence. "You protected the secret, but you didn't protect the source, priestess. This is no longer just a rumor. It is a document." The true scandal wasn't the ancient coup, but the fact that Okomfo Ama, the pillar of spiritual authority, was a conspirator, actively concealing a generations-old act of regicide to maintain her own family's fraudulent power over the village. The power dynamics of Asamankese were about to crumble. Serwa turned her back on the furious, defeated Ama and marched out of the forest, the sikafufu gleaming fiercely on her finger. She ignored Yao's frantic, whispering pleas to bury the secret when he met her at the gorge's mouth, already resigned to her purpose. She walked straight to the chief's palace, where the village council was assembled. They sat on their carved chairs, the current chief, Ama's nephew, presiding with an air of inherited, unquestioned authority. Sarah stood before them, dusty but resolute. First, she placed the sikafufu on the ground, its ancient gold shocking against the worn earth. Then, she unrolled the charcoal rubbings, her voice clear and steady as she narrated the true, scandalous history of the village, detailing the Okomfo's betrayal and murder of the true royal line. The chief and the council gasped, their faces fallen in horrified disbelief. The forbidden folktale was finally heard, proving that the terrifying forest spirit was nothing more than a ghost story created by liars. The foundations of Asamankese began to shake, and Nana Serwa, the keeper of the truth, stood victorious.